watch the videos who aren't Sparkies. It's Miss Melissa back for week 7. I'm not confident about that number, but I think it's 7. Quick announcement, just so you guys know, this was supposed to be our last proper week of AWANA, so I'm not actually doing a lesson again after this, because next week was supposed to be our award ceremony, so I don't have any more planned. If we hear anything more about the Grand Prix or coming back to AWANA next year or anything, I'll post a video and I'll let you guys know and all that if anything crazy happens. But this is the last lesson that I'm posting. I forgot to tell you that last week, so I'm sorry. But now you know, we're all on the same page. Again, this is my email address if you guys have any questions or any verses or any answers, or if you drew me a pretty picture. Whatever you want to talk about, you can email me at that email address. Again, we haven't heard from a lot of you, and that's okay, but I do like to hear from you. Last week, we talked about Daniel and the lion's den, right? And how he prayed to God and how he was taken captive and all that stuff. And I asked you at the end, what is something we can learn from the verses? And of course, I got a wonderful answer from Scarlett. Thank you so much, Scarlett. But the answer that they have on the paper for you guys who don't or didn't answer or don't know the answer is that God can protect the innocent. You guys remember that Daniel didn't do anything wrong. All he was doing was praying to his God. He wasn't hurting anybody. They couldn't find anything wrong, so they had to make a law saying that he was wrong. So he was innocent, and God protected him. But God also wants us to know that even if we're in danger, he still wants us to worship only him. He's that important. I got a sneeze coming. And it waited till now. I haven't had to sneeze all day, and now all of a sudden, I'm doing my video. Okay, it's gone, I think. But God can protect us, okay? But he wants us to worship him and only him. That sneeze really threw me off. I'm sorry, guys. I lost my paper. Because there was one other. Yeah, okay, so that's basically the same thing. The other, because it was a 2-part lesson, so there were 2 answers. The other thing is that when they were taken into captivity, you got to remember that it's not certain and they don't know if they're going to be safe, but God still took care of them. Remember, they were being told that they needed to eat meat and they didn't want to because it was against the rules, and God took care of it. He made it so that the king said that they didn't have to. So this week, we're talking about Esther. I think it's the next book. I don't think we skipped any in between. But I could be wrong about that. So I think it's the very next lesson, but we're going to talk about Esther. And you guys probably heard Queen Esther. Most of you have probably heard about this story before. But we're going to talk about it anyways because it's an important story in the Bible. There's not a ton of stories about women, especially in the Old Testament, because, we talked about this before. Women were treated a little different. They weren't nearly as important. They were kind of more ooh, we're the pretty things you look at kind of thing. But that's changed, and that's good, and that's fine. I think I have these. Oh, no, I have these right. Okay, so we're going to talk about Queen Esther. First thing you got to know is that she wasn't the first queen. Okay, there was one before. Her name was Queen Vashti, which is kind of a fun name. But Queen Vashti didn't listen to the king. And the king's in charge. Ultimately, it doesn't matter that she's the queen. Everyone's below her, but the king's above her. So she didn't listen, and he banished her, okay? Told her, go away, we don't ever want to see you again, don't ever come home. Which is really sad, especially for just not listening. I don't remember what she did, or if it even tells us what she did. I just know she didn't listen. But he started to get lonely, okay? The king started to miss Queen Vashti. So the wise men of his kingdom, they got around him, and they were like, hey, you don't want to bring her back because you banished her. And, that kind of undermined his rule. You don't send someone away and then bring them back. That makes you look like a weak king. So they said, instead, you should just find another queen, okay? So this is a man reading from the scroll because they were saying that all of the beautiful women from all of the kingdom's little areas, whatever you want to call them, all of them had to come to the palace, and the king was basically going to pick one. Which one did he like the most? And that person would be the new queen. Okay, which is where Esther comes in. Esther was a really beautiful woman, okay? So Esther was chosen as one of the young women who would meet the king. And her cousin, Mordecai, told her that she shouldn't tell him, the king, that she's Jewish, okay? Because the Jews weren't very liked at that moment, and if she was a Jew, odds are she wouldn't be queen. And bad things can happen sometimes. Like, bad things happen to the Jews a lot throughout history, but especially throughout the Bible. Okay, so at the palace, Esther found out that she was gonna, well, she didn't find out, but she became the favorite of the woman who was in charge of all of them. Okay, and because of that, she got special treatment. So, like, nowadays, it'd be like, I got my nails done, I went to the spa, my facial, like, the green masks that women wear that make them look like the Hulk, you know. She'd get all of that kind of stuff, and all the other girls would be like, go to bed, it's 8 o'clock kind of thing. So she got treated special because she was the favorite. Probably, and it doesn't say this on my paper, but because she had God on her side, right? Like, when you got God on your side, things tend to go well. All right, that one's showing. Okay, so after 1 whole year of all of her beauty treatments and special treatment, Esther was summoned by the king. Like, you know, they get those trumpets out and like, bum, ba-da-da, like they bring her in. Okay, so she's summoned by the king, and the king loved Esther so much that he made her the new queen. Okay, so that's the king crowning Esther as the new queen. Ugh. I can't reach my papers. I put them too far away, guys. I'm sorry. In comes the bad guy, right? Like, everything's going well so far, nothing's happened, so there's got to be a bad guy coming up. So here's our bad guy, okay? His name is Haman, okay? And Haman's position says that people have to bow down to him and honor him. But Mordecai refused to do that. He's like, this isn't my king, this isn't my God, I'm not going to bow down to him. So Haman convinced the king to allow him to destroy Mordecai and all the Jews in the kingdom. And the decree was sent, and the date was set for the death of the Jews. So Haman got so mad about Mordecai not bowing down to him that he wanted to kill all of the Jews, okay? So they set a date, they said, we're going to all get together and kill them all. Not a really nice guy. That's Haman. He's the one in the black, okay? So, what do you think they did? Because, like, right now, Esther's their queen. She's a Jew. They don't know that yet, but she's a Jew. Mordecai's a Jew. Like, there's a lot of Jews in the country that are all now in danger. So Mordecai heard about what Haman was going to do, okay? And he sent word to Esther. So that's, I don't know if that's Mordecai or if that's just Mordecai's messenger, but that's somebody from, you know, Mordecai or one of his friends telling Esther that there's a plot, okay? Mordecai also told her that God could use her to help save her people. So Esther requested that the Jews of the kingdom join her in fasting and praying before she went to see the king. Because that could be kind of dangerous, going to see the king. Like, it's not something anybody got to do. Even the queen had to kind of request it and gain his favor and make him really happy with her. And then maybe he'd see her. And if it didn't go well, who knew what was going to happen? Maybe she'd join Queen Vashti in banishment. So she said, pray with me, fast with me, like, focus on God, let's see what he has to say, and all right, so let's see what happened. So she risked her life, we just talked about that, okay, and she appeared before the king, who decided to spare her. He was like, okay, like, I like her, let's not kill her, let's not banish her, let's see what she has to say. So she invited him and Haman to a banquet, which, if you don't know, is just a really fancy dinner, okay, and at the banquet, she talked about Haman's plot and pleaded for her life. She was like, hey, I'm a Jew too. And all of the other Jews, they're just like me. Like, what did they do? That we have to kill them all. So the king got so upset that he ordered that Haman was going to be killed instead. Okay, because he's done such a bad thing. He had to be punished, okay? So instead of all the Jews being rounded up and killed, Haman got killed. But they're not safe yet, okay? Not necessarily. Because the king, you remember how we talked in Daniel and the Lion's Den about how the king couldn't undo his own law? So you can't change your law back then. You just can't randomly be like, I don't like it anymore. Just scratch it, get rid of it. So they have to come up with something else, okay? So he couldn't change the law, but he decided he would make a decree that says that the Jews could defend themselves. So when they came to round themselves up, or round the Jews up, they could fight back. They could defend themselves, and it would be okay. Like, they weren't allowed to just come back to the king and be like, we need an army, because the Jews were allowed to do this, okay? And in the battles that day, the Jews prevailed, so they won. Because of Esther's position and her great courage, the Jews were saved. And they made a holiday. It's not one I can pronounce, but they made a holiday to celebrate that day. So that's the Jews jumping up and down. They're happy and joyful, all the boys and all the girls, because now they're saved. Okay? I think that's the shortest story I've ever taught you guys. Let me know if you guys agree, okay? Because, I don't know. So quick couple of questions real quick. Do you guys remember why the king was searching for a new queen? What happened to the old one? I mean, I know, like, well, we'll get there. What happened to the old one? So he banished her, right? He get out. Don't want to see your face again, right? Okay. So who became queen after Vashti? And if you missed this part, I recommend you watch the video again because you didn't get the most important thing. Esther, right? Esther became queen after Vashti. Why did Haman want to kill all the Jews? I mean, what did they do to him? They're good people, right? He hated them. Mordecai, the Jew, wouldn't bow to him, so he finally got fed up with it, and he was like, fine, kill them all, get it over with. So, what did Esther do to save her fellow Jews? She threw a banquet, right? She went in, she risked her life, and she's like, King, I have something I want to ask you. And I thought that was really clever, because instead of going in and being like, hey, he's done this thing, she buttered him up first. Like, she made him dinner. There was probably steak and potatoes or, something really tasty. And then she was like, by the way, your secondhand man here, he's really trying to get rid of me. Like, you see how wonderful I am making you all this food? Like, I don't know if that's what she was thinking, but that's how I see it. Okay? I thought it was really smart. And then she was like, yeah, see, he's trying to kill us all. So she was really brave in the end. And then, of course, my favorite question. Email me in. Oh, no, you can't. It's the last week. I guess I have to tell you the answer. So what do we learn about God from these verses? But you can still email me in if you, learn something different than what I say, or tell me your favorite part. You can still respond to the video. You just, I'm going to give you the answer. That's all. So I'll give you a minute to think about it, because, I'll be quiet now. So one of the things you can learn is that sometimes God will put you places so that you can help and protect his people. And that doesn't always mean the Jews. Like right now, yes, that could mean the Jews, but the Christians, let's say you put one in the White House, and then they can make certain that we don't lose our right to worship God. Things like that. Sometimes God will put you places that you wouldn't think. Daniel got put in a lion's den. Probably not where he expected to end up. Joseph ended up in prison. Probably not somewhere he thought he could help God. But he ended up being able to save all of those people. Esther ended up in a castle as a queen. I mean, every kid dreams of being a queen. How many of you girls would not, love to be a queen? Or princess, whatever, princesses become queens. But nobody thinks it's going to happen, right? I don't know any princes that are going to come, well, I'm married, but I didn't know any before that were going to come and marry me and sweep me off my feet and take me to a castle. I never expected to be a queen. But, he puts you in places that sometimes you wouldn't even expect so that you can help and protect his people. So, it has been wonderful making these videos for you guys. I really cannot wait till we actually get to see you again. I don't know what's going to happen. Hopefully, we'll be able to meet come next year, but we'll see. If not, hey, maybe I'll be making more videos. YouTube star. Woohoo! We love you guys. Mr. David's laughing at me. I don't think he thinks I'd be a star. We'll see you guys later. Bye.